Hold up. Wait a minute.
This is Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
Let's take a trip around the curve. Happy 2016, everybody. It's so good to see you. It's so good to be seen. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Carla Renata, the Curvy Film Critic. And what I do here is I talk about movies, and sometimes I interview people above and below the line in the film industry. I know my boy Brandon is in the house. Happy New Year, Brandon. He's telling me he saw Charlie the Wonder Dog today, and I actually kind of dug it. Owen Wilson did a great job as Charlie the dog. Next movie I'm going to see is Goat. I've seen both of those, and the next movie I'm going to see is Goat too. Thank you for hiding. Thank you for popping through and always giving me some love and letting me know what you're up to. So you guys, going into this new year, we're going to do a new format for the Curvy Film Critic. I'm going to do 2 lives a month, and I'm going to do 2 taped interview shows a month. And so I won't be here live doing this every week like I have been, because it's starting to really take a toll on me, if I'm being honest. And the light is like not being my friend today. Okay, there we go. So that is how we're going to do the format. I will be putting updates up live as soon as I possibly can, prior to those dates, so that it won't be last minute like it has been. It'll be a totally different thing going on, and I hope that you guys dig it. So as usual, I talk about what I did before I came in here, and as your girl was going out of 2025, I went over to this station, CNN, with my boy Alex Michelson. So you guys might remember that I had been doing a lot of stuff with him at Fox 11 for most of the year last year, until he left to go over to CNN to start his own show called The Story Is with Alex Michelson. So there I am with him. I had to take a picture in front of the CNN sign, of course. And then I ended the year, of course, over at Fox 11 with my girl Amanda Salas, Jamie Philibrandt, and Rick Hong are pictured there in that photograph with me. We talked about the movies that we thought were going to win the Critics' Choice Award, and then we also talked about the films that we were excited to see coming into 2026. My 2 films were The Bride and Wuthering Heights, because those are like my 2 favorite romantic films. Then I went over to the Crafts, Tribute to Crafts, which was hosted by Paula Wagner and Stephanie Elaine. Stephanie Elaine used to be over at Paramount, I think it was Paramount Pictures. She's the one that is responsible for discovering John Singleton, and is a powerhouse of a woman in the film industry. She has a documentary coming out about Billy Preston, and Paula Wagner, pictured there, is known for being producing partners with Tom Cruise and being one of his early agents, early on. So let's get into this award season situation. Let me come back and talk to you for a minute. So the thing about the award season is that this is one of those award seasons where it's kind of all over the place. It's anybody's game to win, except for in a few categories. I believe that the Best Actress category is on lock with Jessie Buckley. The only person I think could possibly upset that for her would be Rose Byrne, who is in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. She's the only person I think might be able to upset a win for Jessie Buckley, who's also won the Critics' Choice and the Golden Globes. So before I get into the other ones, let's break it down by the numbers. Rotten Tomato posted this a couple of weeks ago, and it says thus far, and I think this was before the Golden Globes happened, if I'm correct. So up until maybe a couple of weeks ago, Sinners was leading the pack with 147 wins, One Battle After Another. And these are wins including regional wins, things like Critics' Choice, Golden Globes, European Film Awards, whatever. All of those awards are included in this. So Sinners is leading with 147. One Battle After Another is leading with 142. K-Pop Demon Hunters is leading with 26. Hamnet is leading with 26, and let me move this banner out of the way. And The Perfect Neighbor is winning with 24. Perfect Neighbor has a 99% on the tomato meter. Hamnet has 86. K-pop Demon Hunters has 94. One Battle After Another has 95, and Sinners has 97 percentage on the tomato meter. So I just wanted to throw that up there to give you guys an idea of what the award season is looking like right now in terms of who is winning. But I think after the Golden Globes, One Battle and Sinners probably switch places. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. I also wanted to let you know, like I said, I talk about things before I came here. I went to see a musical called The Notebook, since we're talking about films. The Notebook is a film that starred James Garner, and Laura Dern's mom was in this movie. And it was based off of a novel. And it was one of my favorite novels. Is one of my favorite movies. It's about this couple that falls in love when they're young. They get separated, and when they finally get back together and start a life together, the woman that he falls in love with, gets diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and he goes to read to her every day to try to jog her memory, because she tells him, if you read this to me, I'll come back to you. Heartbreaking. Why did I sit in the theater in the ugly cry, and was like, and as I was walking out, I was crying. Well, I got to come back. I was crying so hard that the ushers were like, we got tissues on sale for $5. I'm like, I will be using my sleeve. Thank you and good night. But this young woman that is pictured here with me, her name is Sharon Catherine Brown. Sharon Catherine Brown has been in show business for over 55 years. She's played everything from Lucy and Jekyll and Hyde to Effie and Dreamgirls, and now she is playing older Allie in The Notebook, which is currently on tour, and right now it is sitting at the Pantages Theater in Hollywood, where I actually went to go check out one of my other cast members from The Lion King, Miss Sherry Roan, who got me a house seat. So thank you, Sherry. And I didn't know that Sharon was in the show. Now, I saw Sharon post that she was in The Notebook, but it didn't click that she was in The Notebook and that she is one of the leads. Like, that just didn't, for whatever reason, that didn't register into my consciousness. But I'll put her face up again. If you have an opportunity to see this on the road, it is called The Notebook. It is based on the book, The Notebook, and adapted from the movie, The Notebook. Sharon Catherine Brown is playing the lead, and she's absolutely fantabulous. All right, let's get back to these award situations. The American Cinematheque does a tribute to the crafts every year, and this year they had a fantabulous lineup of people, including, let me go down to my list so I can tell you what's happening. Yes, here we go. The winners there were artisans, and the artisans were from Avatar, Fire and Ash, Train Dreams, K-pop Demon Hunters, Wicked, For Good, Frankenstein, One Battle After Another, Weapons, Sinners, and special honors went to production designer Jack Wick, who was presented his award by his wife Sissy Spacek, and Francine Maisler, the casting director for Sinners, and the Trailer King producer editor. I think his name is what. I messed up his name. I want to say Andrew. It's Andrew. Andrew Keel. He was honored. Andrew Keel Jr. He was honored. So let me come back. So all of those trailers that you see, all of those really cinematic, almost like mini movie trailers that you see, all of those trailers were conceptualized by Andrew Keene Jr. And he really got put on the map with his trailer for Jaws. So I wanted to put that out there. Let me go back to the beginning and talk about a couple of other things. So far in 2026, One Battle After Another, like I said, Sinners, dominating the awards. Timothy Chalamet, Jesse Buckley, and Michael B. Jordan are winning some of the major acting awards between the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice. And both of those awards are the kickoff to the award season. So One Battle After Another swept the categories at the Globes and was a major player at Critics' Choice, taking home Best Picture and Best Score. Best Director for Paul Thomas Anderson. And then Sinners won big at the Astra Awards. Now, while we're sitting on the Astra Awards, let's talk about this for a second. The Astra Awards aren't necessarily considered a major contender in terms of the discussion of award winners and who's going to win. But they decided that they were going to give Sharon Stone a Timeless Award. And while she was there and got her award in hand, she decided, I just have to read this to y'all because it was crazy. She got more press from ripping the kids at her table a new butthole who didn't know who she was during her acceptance speech at the Astra Awards. The Astra Awards got more attention for that than Sharon actually winning the award, which is actually quite horrible. Tiana Taylor won Best Actress for her role in One Battle After Another, which has been very, very controversial. It's been controversial here, and me and TT had a little conversation about it, and that seems to be the conversation that is coming up now that she's starting to win some awards. What else? The European Film Awards happened, and Renata Rensviv and Stellan Skarsgård walked away with awards. Arco has walked away with a Best Animated Award and Best Composer and Best Director awards at the European Film Awards. So this film with Renata and Stellan, it puts them into the conversation because they could be the upsets in the Best Actress and Best Actor categories. They haven't been winning anything in terms of the Golden Globes or the Critics' Choice or any of the other awards, but they have been recognized regionally and they have been recognized in Europe. And we all know that when the awards happens, there's always some surprises that come up. So having said that, I think that kind of brings us up to date with all the awards. The Actor Award nominations were announced by the Actor Award nominations were announced by Netflix, and so that was really great. And as I mentioned, Timothée Chalamet has been winning. I did want to show you this picture because I thought it was hilarious. So when Tiana won her award, she was like, "Look at my party in the back." She had a rhinestone bow going right down the crack of her butt, which is so brilliantly placed for awards show conversation, but it's so indicative of who Tiana Taylor is. She is a live wire and unpredictable, and we love her for it. All right, so the Oscar nominations will be coming up, as will the Film Independent Award nominations. But this past week, the NAACP nominations dropped, and I had the opportunity to talk to Vice Chair Karen Boykin Towns about that. So take a look and a listen to this interview that we did discussing how they break down the NAACP Image Awards. Every year, y'all want to add some new categories. So let's talk about the new categories you've added this time. Last time, I think it was some podcast categories and some things like that. But what you got for us this time?
This year, we have outstanding literary work in journalism, and we have outstanding editing in a motion picture, TV series, movie, or special. So those are two new ones, but we are excited, and this morning it's go time.
It's go time. I love that. I also love that you all always have an entertainer of the year. And I'm just curious to know, how do you all decide who gets nominated for the entertainer of the year? Do you kind of track these people's career accomplishments all year long to come up with that list?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I've never been asked that before.
Good.
So as chair of the NAACP Image Awards Committee, I have a subcommittee that focuses solely on nominees for Entertainer of the Year. And this small group of people are looking to see who across areas have had like really just an outstanding year. And so when they brought back this list back in December, we were all blown away. And so to see the reaction about them being nominated and revealed this morning Cynthia Erivo, Doechii, Kendrick Lamar, Tiana Taylor, and Michael B. Jordan. We thought we had an amazing list in December, and when it was revealed this morning, people have been losing their minds, and we are beyond excited.
I love that. I'm excited about that list as well, because those particular people did have a very outstanding, unusual year for people of color in their lanes. So I applaud y'all on coming up with that particular list. Let's go back to the literary category that you guys have added. You split it up into very different lanes of literary achievements.
Yes.
So can we talk about that and how you guys decided to break it up in that way, as opposed to just saying, we're going to nominate some people for outstanding literary achievement and have it solely be on a literary work like a novel?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we've done it also now for podcasts. And I think the feeling is that it's really unfair to just mix a lot of them together, because they are unique and different. And sometimes those that should, be recognized aren't really given that, a level playing field, for lack of a better term, in which to have their work seen. And so it's a refinement, and it's one that we have gotten great feedback on, in terms of really allowing the folks in those categories to be seen in a way that it's apples and apples versus, a number of things, all literary, put together and just, a determination made.
I love that, because you guys have split it up into fiction, nonfiction, debut author. I'm going down the list. Biography, autobiography, instructional, poetry, children, youth, teens, graphic. I love the graphic novel one.
Yeah.
Journalism.
That's really new. We did that maybe 2 years ago. So that's a new area.
And journalism. And I love that you guys have decided to shed a light on journalists, because journalists of color oftentimes are only recognized very sporadically in their film critic organizations or some organization that is associated with film. So it's wonderful that you guys have branched out in that way to allow journalists of color, specifically Black people, to be honored and recognized in that way. So I applaud you on those efforts as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I love talking to you, because you really see the direction we're going and the importance of these changes that we make to really ensure that, we are providing the platform and the intentionality of what we're trying to do for the culture.
Absolutely. Always. I enjoy speaking with you as well. And last but not least, can you give us just a tidbit of the highlights that audiences can expect when the show airs later on this month?
Well, it's next month.
Next month. I'm thinking we in February.
Yeah, next month. But folks can start voting right now. Once the nominations were revealed, voting has opened, and they just need to go to NAACPimageawards.net to vote, and anyone in the public can vote, and it stays open until February 7th. So tidbits. Well, what I can say is, as you know, Dion Cole is the host again this year. And so we're very excited with that. And if you saw CBS Mornings, anything can happen when Dion Cole is there. We See You is our theme this year, and I think that is going to permeate just the intent and the feel when they tune in for February 28th. It's going to be something special. It's been a tough year. It's been a heavy year. And, not to be political, but, it's always something. And this morning, read that our president has said that the civil rights movement has discriminated against white men.
I
and
saw that.
and encouraging them to file claims against file claims to the EEOC. And so with the NAACP, while we have the Image Awards and it is a festive, joyous, important time, our mission and what we do every day is, speaking truth to power, educating our communities, training up our community to be able to speak up and push back and be resilient during this time where there's just so much going on. And so I think Image Awards Week will be a time where we are focused on the environment that we're living in, but at the same time lifting each other up and saying, we see you and let's keep going. I am so happy that Sarah's Oil is nominated. That movie is nominated. And I think what I love most about the NAACP Image Awards is that we will lift up movies and TV shows like Ruth and Boaz, those that might not be seen, other places. But here at the Image Awards, they get lifted up and celebrated and walk the red carpet and even win at times. But I think that is what I like most about the show and the week. And it's a week of celebration. It's a week of reminding us of our excellence and reminding us that, artistry is what has always helped fuel the civil rights movement, our social justice movement, and the need for us to remain connected, because during these types of times is when we must come together. And we're 2026 midterms. It's going to be critically important that we understand as a community the importance of getting out and voting, using our power, which is our vote and our voice.
Absolutely. Well, you're an inspiration to me. You see, I cut off my hair and dyed it. I'm trying to give the boss lady look like you, Vice Chair.
You're looking amazing as always, and you are doing great work, and we thank you and really appreciate you continuing to be being my first interview as we kick off Image Awards season.
It is my absolute pleasure. I'm always to highlight us. I'm always happy to highlight us. So thank you for giving me your time today. I much appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. So FYI, but not really, I did that interview the day that the NAACP Image Award nominations dropped. So again, like the vice chair was telling you, and I was trying to put it up during the interview, but it was like 10,000 fonts too big, but like it is now. But like she said, anyone can vote. You go to www.naacpimageawards.net and you can vote for your favorites there. Again, it's naacpimageawards.net and you can vote for who you'd like to see win on that site. All right. And thank you, Vice Chair. Always lovely to speak with you and talk about the Image Awards. It's one of my favorite things during award seasons to do. All right. So let's get into some reviews before we get into my interview with Gus VanZant and my Sundance previews. So the first film I want to get into, well, actually the first project I want to get into is this documentary right here. It's called Pole to Pole. It's with Will Smith. Now, y'all know my boy Will had a rough year last year. had a rough last couple of years, I should say. And so he signed up with Disney and National Geographic and released this documentary series. It's about 7 or 8 episodes. It's called Pole to Pole. And he literally went from pole to pole, not the kind of pole that you think, get your mind out the gutter. He literally went from the South Pole to the North Pole. It might be vice versa. I can't remember because I watched it back to back. But he went everywhere. Yeah, he went from the South Pole to the North Pole to Ecuador to Bhutan. And he basically, after that whole situation happened with him and Chris Rock, and we don't need to say what it is because we all know what it was. He decided to take a reflective journey to find some inner peace through world discoveries following the most traumatic event that destroyed his professional career and challenged his personal life. That's what I will say about this series. It was absolutely fascinating, especially the one I think where he was in Bhutan with the monks. And they were saying that in order for you to experience happiness, you have to experience death. I'll say that again. In order for any individual to experience happiness, they have to experience death. And Will Smith experienced the worst kind of death for an actor you could possibly experience. He watched his career crash and burn over a spur of the moment decision, which will forever be synonymously linked to his name. So this journey was therapeutic for him. It was cathartic for him. I'm pretty sure he probably came out on the other side of it with different meanings of life from different types of cultures, different countries, different points in the world. He went and touched an anaconda. He took some scales off of it, for example. I know. Picture that. Will Smith taking scales off of an anaconda. It sounds like a really bad horror movie, but it happened for real. He was in the jungle, in the Ecuador jungle, learning how to make fires from scratch. And he was like, I got some matches. And they were like, no. What if your matches get wet? Then what you gonna do? It was really fascinating to watch. And so I highly suggest that if you have the opportunity to check it out, it is called, again, Pole to Pole. It's streaming on National Geographic, Disney Plus, and Hulu, and it stars and is hosted by Will Smith. The Rip is a film that dropped on Netflix over the weekend, baby, and it stars Matt Damon, Tiana Taylor, and Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are reunited for the first time since they did Air a couple of years ago. They did a movie, Air, which was about how Michael Jordan got his deal with for his Air Jordans and basically became a millionaire. But like I said, Tiana Taylor is having a moment. She's in this film Rip, and she plays a Miami cop. So what happens in this film is that a group of Miami cops, including Tiana Taylor, they discover a stash of millions in cash, leading to distrust, as outsiders learn about seizure, making them question who to rely on. I'll tell you this about this movie. The best part of it kind of kicked in toward the end where all the action and stuff was really taking place. And I didn't know that the term for the rip is a term that is used by cops referring to any kind of money or drugs that they confiscate at a crime scene. And people, sometimes some of these dirty cops, they will rip off some of the stash for their own personal gain. That's why it's called the rip. So I just wanted to clarify that. The movie is very, very predictable for the most part, but the performances are all very strong, all very solid, all very stellar, and the entire cast is really great from that vantage point. And whenever you get Matt Damon and Ben Affleck together, the results are just butter. They're so comfortable with each other that the dialogue just pops off their mouth. It's like watching a really fast ping pong game when they're in a scene together. And I enjoyed that about this film. I enjoyed the performances. The script for this film was like, the direction, but if you're fans of any of these people, you'll love the film. I kind of dug it, but like I said, I kind of dug it more in the last, I want to say the last quarter of the film is what I enjoyed. Again, it's called The Rip. There's a film that I also saw called Mercy. And it stars Rebecca Ferguson and Chris Pratt. It's coming to theaters this weekend. This is the thing about Mercy. Oh, it also stars Chris Sullivan from This Is Us fame and Kaylee Reyes, who is an Indigenous woman. And I love the fact that she is like this former boxer that's getting all this love. being an Indigenous actor. She's best known for her role in True Detective opposite Jodie Foster, who I'll talk about a little later on with her film, A Private Life. But let's talk about Mercy for a minute. So Mercy is happening in the near future. It's giving me, well, I'll just explain to you what it is before I talk about what it's giving me. So it's happening in the near future. An advanced AI judge tells a captive detective that he's on trial for the murder of his wife. If he fails to prove his innocence within 90 minutes, he'll be executed on the spot. This film was giving me like a updated version of Minority Report. If you remember Minority Report, it was one of the first films that we saw Colin Farrell in, opposite Tom Cruise. And that movie was crazy because in Minority Report, what happens is there's a little wooden ball that comes down a little spiral thing. And when it finally turns around where you can see the writing, it'll have the name of the person that supposedly has committed the murder. And then they have I forget what the team they call it in Minority Report, but they had a team of people that would literally go out to the location because they had video footage and everything. So that just goes to show you Big Brother been watching for a minute. But in Minority Report, they go out to try to prevent the crimes from happening in the first place. And if they don't, then they end up arresting the person that commits the murder. In Mercy, the murder has already been committed, and the person that is being accused of committing the murder now has 90 minutes to prove their innocence. And it's stressful. It was a stressful ass movie. It was stressful. I will tell you that much. It stressed me all the way out. The plot kind of moves along a little slowly, but it is a very engaging flick. I enjoyed it. It's a fascinating concept, though, and it's kind of frightening because to think that this possibly could be our future, where you are walking around minding your own business and somebody shows up with cuffs saying that you are being accused of murder and murdering somebody that you love, and you don't even know. And then, of course, shenanigans ensue. But what I will say about Mercy is that it is a very engaging flick. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed both Mercy and The Rip. So again, Mercy will be coming into theaters this weekend, and The Rip is already streaming right now on Netflix for your enjoyment pleasure. Last but not least, I want to talk about this film called A Private Affair. Now, A Private Affair stars Jodie Foster and is done mostly in French. She plays a renowned psychiatrist, Lillian Steiner, who mounts a private investigation into the death of one of her patients, whom she is convinced has been murdered. This is the thing. I love watching Jodie Foster in these types of films where she's just being quintessential Jodie Foster, boss lady, doing all the things, right? It was fascinating to watch her. But what was even more fascinating is she is speaking French, and she speaks French fluently and has been doing so since she was a teen. So I kind of loved all of that for her. But I loved how this movie played out. It was really wonderful to watch. It was one of the films that when I went to the Telluride Film Festival last fall was getting a lot of heat. It was getting a lot of heat during some of the international film festivals like Venice and Cannes. So I'm glad that it's finally going to be out and people can actually see it for themselves. Again, it is called A Private Life. And what I will say is that I live for a good murder mystery, so I was all about that. But what I will say about this film is that Jodie Foster is better than the material that she is given in this particular film. The film is great. I'm not saying it's a bad film. It's a great film, but she is better than the actual film is. It's a great film, but she actually is better than the film is. So again, you guys, these are the 3 films I'm recommending that you see this week. They are Mercy with Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson, which comes out later on this week. The Rip, which is currently streaming on Netflix, and A Private Life. Now let's get into the Sundance Film Festival. Sundance Film Festival is one of my favorite things to attend. Oh, wait, before I get into that, I see some comments up here, so let me address that. I don't want y'all to think I'm ignoring you, because I'm not. All right, so Pole to Pole is very interesting. It was fascinating to watch. It really, really was. I would highly suggest um I highly suggest watching it because it's very educational and extremely inspirational. It really is. And good evening to you too. I am well. I am well. Jada, you love me on Superstore. You're funny, Jada. Thank you, Jada. I appreciate you. I enjoyed working on Superstore. It was one of my favorite shows to work on. We had a good time. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate you. Jodie Foster is a phenomenal actress, and she's an even more phenomenal person. So, FYI, but not really. When I was at Telluride, I went to a dinner for Sony Pictures Classics, and Jodie and I sat and had an opportunity to talk. And she was telling me about how she had been speaking French since she was a kid. She talked to me about a lot of things that will stay between us, but we talked a lot about the business, and we talked for I want to say a good 15, 20 minutes. And she was absolutely lovely. And she's also one of the many people among the hundreds that has been encouraging me to write my life story. So I said, if I write it, you're going to direct it, right? And she said she would. So I got to get a script to her sooner than later so that we can make that happen. But yes, Jodie Foster absolutely is a fantabulous actress. All right. Now, what was I talking about? Oh, I was talking about Sundance. So Sundance is coming up. It starts on the 22nd and it goes through like, let me see if the dates are on this banner that I put up. It's not. But it goes for about 11 days, but it starts on the 22nd. And there's lots of films that are playing, a whole bunch of films that are playing that I absolutely love. But these are the ones that I got a little sneak preview of that I actually had an opportunity to see that I want to tell you about. My favorite one that I couldn't wait to see, and I'm not going to review it, but I'm just going to tell you about it so that if you want to go online at sundance.org and try to grab an online ticket or an online pass, you might be able to squeeze one in. This film right here, Once Upon a Time in Harlem, baby, that film is my favorite documentary of all times. Oh yes, the festival runs from January 22nd and February 1st. So what happens is William Greaves, who is at the time in the 70s was a huge genre defying filmmaker. In 1972, he injured up, let me come on camera so you can see me talking about it. He conjured up an idea in 1972 where he decided to bring all of the luminaries that were still living together of the Harlem Renaissance together for like a little salon party. And so it lasted for 4 hours. And this extraordinary group, many of whom had not seen each other in 50 years, they reminisced, they critiqued, they argued, they laughed, they drank, they ate, and they wrestled in their place in a rapidly shifting cultural landscape. It was shot on 16 millimeter film. It's newly restored. And now in the wake of Mr. Greaves' passing, his son David has remastered and re-released this film, and it's going to be playing at the Sundance Film Festival. I will go into it more when the film drops. I don't want to say any more about it, but this was absolutely one of my favorite films, as was this film, because this film right here, I'm gonna show you a picture. This film right here had me hollering. So everybody been a Girl Scout, right? Look at these little Girl Scouts. I love the one on the left. Look at her little face. She's just like, I'm listening to you, but I kind of would like to go eat a cookie. And then the one on the right is like, I'm bored and I'm going to listen to you, but I kind of want to go eat a cookie too. The film is called Cookie Queens, and it's a celebration of girlhood. What I loved about this is that it celebrated the Girl Scouts. I don't know anybody in America that was a little girl that wasn't a Girl Scout. Like everybody was a Girl Scout. I was a Girl Scout. I didn't get to be a brownie because my father was in the military and I missed my opportunity to be a brownie, but I was a Girl Scout. And I remember being obsessed with getting all of the badges for my sash, for my little green sash. And I was one sash short. Guess what one badge short. Guess what the badge was? It was camping. Do you see what I look like? Do I look like I'm trying to be out in anybody's wild with some lions, tigers, and bears? Hell to the no. So I didn't get my last badge because I decided my mother went and got the canteen, they got the sleeping bag, she got all the things for me to go camping and get this badge. And I think a couple of days before we were supposed to leave, I was like, "Yep, nope, I'm not going." But I love that this documentary addresses all of that. It's a celebration, like I said. It's a coming of age story about the joys and the pressures and the pain points woven into Girl Scout cookies. And they focus in on three little girls, three families that sell these Girl Scout cookies and all of the agita and conflama that comes along with that. But I absolutely loved it, and I'll tell you, I'll be more specific about it as time goes on and the festival gets into weight. But again, it's called Cookie Queens. And another one that I absolutely adored was this one. It's called The Oldest Person in the World. It's a decade-long chronicling of the ever-changing record holders of the title of the oldest person alive. The filmmaker, Sam Green, a record holder in his own right, with his 12th doc premiering at Sundance, decided he had a personal fascination with what this title means and decided to not only tackle it from the vantage point of the oldest person alive, but the youngest person alive. Because what he says in the documentary, and this won't spoil anything for you, every time someone is born, for a millisecond, they are the youngest person alive. I found that absolutely fascinating. But what I also found fascinating is that most of these people that were the oldest person alive were like 116, 117 years old. Can you imagine how much life you have seen living to 116 and 117 years old? I'll tell you more about it as we go on, but it was a fascinating documentary, and I think people are really gonna love it. This is one of the feature films I was really excited to see. It's called Lady, and it takes place in Nigeria, in Lagos. It's about this fiercely independent young cab driver pictured right there. Um, Her name, they call her Lady. Um, and she meets a band of really reckless sex workers whose sisterhood put her in danger, and they set her on a journey toward her own transformation. When I tell you that young lady, right, and I'll talk more about it as we get further into Sundance, but that young lady right there, in this film, she was giving me Cicely Tyson meets Danielle Deadweiler meets Viola Davis. She was giving me all the things, and it is a fascinating film. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of the films that will be playing at the Sundance Film Festival here in 2026. It starts on January 22nd. It will go through February 1st. I will be doing short videos of each film that I see and reviewing it in real time so that you can have an idea of what's going on and what you might want to see. I'll just give you a rundown really quickly of some of the other films. A lot of the films so Sundance is both virtual and in person. And so I'm doing it virtually this year, and for a variety of reasons, but mostly because I need to have some dental surgery. And I'm gonna be looking like a chipmunk, and I'm really not trying to be on an airplane after having the kind of surgery that I'm having. So there's that. But let me go to these comments again real quick. I know you wasn't a Girl Scout. Talking about you wanted to be. Okay, you know what? You're funny. And I love how y'all say hello to each other. I have such respectful people in my podcast. Thank you for being respectful of myself and the people that roll through here. Thank you so much. All right. So now the other thing is, so some of these films, they're not playing virtually, so I won't have an opportunity to see them. But some of the ones I really want to see that aren't being made available virtually are Frank and Lewis, The Gallerist, In the Blink of an Eye, See You When I See You. and the Brittany Griner story. You remember Brittany Griner was the young basketball player who went overseas and was over there for a minute in Russia before they let her go. So I can't wait to see what she has to say about that. And there's a couple of other ones. I have a list of like 10 or 20. I probably have a list of maybe I want to say 35, 40 films that I'm going to see this week, and I put a big dent into a bunch of them. But yeah, you guys check out the Sundance Film Festival virtually if you have an opportunity. It's really wonderful. And this is also the last year the festival will be in Park City. Next year, it will be in Boulder, Colorado. So a lot of people were trying to get to the mountain in Park City to visit it one last time. All right. So we have talked about all of the awards. We have talked about Mercy. We've talked about Pole to Pole. We've talked about The Rip. We've talked about A Private Life. Now, in closing this out, I want to talk about this film. It's called Dead Man's Wire. It is a crazy, crazy film. And it's based on a true story, and it is directed by Gus VanZant. Gus VanZant is one of my favorite directors because he directed To Die For, which we talk about in the interview, so I don't want to spoil it for you. But this is what I want to tell you about the film before I get into this interview with Gus. The film is starring Bill Skarsgård, who was pictured in that photograph I showed you. So what happens is this true story took place on February 8th, 1977. Tony Kritzis enters this office of Richard Hall, who's the president of the Meridian Mortgage Company. And he took Richard hostage with a sawed-off shotgun wired with a dead man's wire. So what a dead man's wire is it's a wire that goes from someone's neck to the trigger of a gun. So if the person does this, if they move their head in any direction, it'll blow their head off. That's why it's called a dead man's wire. And so he yeah, it was crazy. It's insanely intense and intriguing. This film is. Bill Skarsgård is fantabulous at capturing the essence of Tony. It's giving Dog Day Afternoon vibes, and instead of robbing the bank, they are attacking the mortgage company and holding the mortgage companies responsible for what's going on. And it also eerily resonates with today because it highlights how personal financial struggles make people do some crazy shit. Like the guy who, the young man who shot the guy in New York, who was head of one of the pharmaceutical companies. He was upset because he couldn't afford his prescription, so he took out the man that owned the company. This is the same situation, only is dealing with a mortgage company. So I'm not going to tell you too much more about it. I'm just going to let Gus VanZant talk about it a little bit more. I see your face. Yes, it's crazy, but you're about to hear even more craziness as we get into this interview with Gus VanZant, the director of Dead Man's Wire. I enjoyed this film so very much, and I'm so excited to speak to you today. That movie was crazy. That story was crazy. What is it about that story what is it about those types of stories that draws you into it as a director?
I think like true crime dramas. I think those are. I have done a couple of them, and sort of broken the traditions. This one was a little more traditional, and in the way Austin had written the screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I was mostly attracted by the intensity of the lead character, and Tony Kritzis was just the way he sounded in the recordings. There were recordings connected to the script. He was very emotional, and you sort of felt for him at the same time as were afraid of him, which was an interesting combination. So that was sort of my attraction more than say the true life crime side of it.
I am shocked at how eerily close that is to where we are now with a lot of people in America in
Oh
terms
yeah,
of mortgages and banks and
yeah,
loans and
that's
that
true,
type of
right?
thing.
Yeah, and that's for sure. Yeah, it's I think the question for our character is, or at least our relationship to the character is, he thinks that the mortgage company is take stealing his land because they think it's a good idea to develop a shopping center where he wants to develop it. Which I can't tell whether, I mean, from where I am, if he was imagining that or whether it was true. I mean, the mortgage company, this particular mortgage company, and a lot of mortgage companies, they they have they have the power to
Hmm.
kind of do that sort of thing. Like they can take things away from people, and they can. So when they actually, whether he actually is having that happen, or is it just that he can't keep his payments up? He also was. It's not in our movie, but the head of the mortgage company took him under his wing. He liked that Tony had all this energy, and he liked Tony, and he wanted to help Tony, but then
Hmm.
Tony couldn't keep up his payments. So eventually, he might have given him more time than normal, but he was sort of getting cast out of the family. So the
Hmm.
person that he's uh, kidnapped is kind of like a brother. Like they both relate to the Al Pacino character as like their father.
Hmm.
So it's hard to tell, but definitely building the building business and the mortgage companies are given a lot of leeway by the government because it's seen as progress. Like building things is progress, so the government lets them slide on like taxes as far as like when they need to pay their taxes, and they get benefits that the non uh, building people don't get.
Hmm.
Just coming from like even like other eras, like the 30s and 40s and 50s, like building is good, and so the government, I feel, when I talk to people that are in that business, they say they feel guilty all the all the benefits that they get from the tax world.
Wow, well, lucky them.
Yeah, exactly,
Because
exactly.
that is not my reality. I got a
No,
mortgage and I got
exactly.
to pay it on time. That's all I got to say about that. In my last little bit of time that I have left, I want to flip back to what you were talking about with the 911 calls. Was there anything in those calls that you really wanted to use, but you had to cut it out for time's sake?
It wasn't in the screenplay, and we didn't try and fit it in, but it was quite funny. He was asking people about their family life and like where they lived and personal questions to the police. At the same time as he's like, "Are you guys getting over here? Are you sending the cops over here? Because I'm ready for you." And like, "What's your wife's name again?" That kind of stuff. He was chatty at the same time as very angry.
What would you consider something that in your real life would make you be on a dead man's wire?
Well, I think that it's similar, like loss of control is the thing that makes you very angry. And as a filmmaker, a lot of times the loss of control is getting to do your work, your art,
Hmm.
and having like the executives, say, no, we're going to take that scene out. And if you haven't made the right contract with them, they can take it out. And so it makes the filmmakers go crazy.
Just to close it out, I just have to tell you one of my favorite all time movies that you directed was To Die For. That is my favorite movie of all time
Uh,
because it is just it's like this film. It's the craziest thing you've ever heard of that you would never in a million years think would be a true story, but
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, yes. It's based on a true story. I think the true story of To Die For is maybe even crazier,
Yeah, yeah,
but
absolutely.
but it was crazy, yeah.
It was crazy, but I just wanted to tell you that that is like my favorite. And you've done some
Uh,
fabulous movies, this one included, Good Will Hunting, a bunch of them. But To Die For is my jam.
oh, that's
Just had
great.
to let you know that is my all-time favorite movie ever, 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 ever. And I
Uh,
want to thank you, Gus, for giving me some of your time today to have this discussion with you. It was really insightful and very specific, and I really appreciate that. That's what makes you a great director.
oh, thank you.
You're welcome. I really did enjoy talking to him. And y'all, that is the dude. He literally directed Good Will Hunting and To Die For. Like, come on. It doesn't get any better than that. It really doesn't. I was so geeked out. Yes. Thank you for that. Luigi was the guy's name who um killed the drug executive in New York. The one that the girls was having a nervous breakdown over. I'm like, so you in love with a murderer? But okay. So, in closing this out, you guys, we're about to embark upon celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday. And I remember when I was in college at Howard University, I did a two-part documentary about his birthday becoming a national holiday. And I interviewed everybody on Capitol Hill from, oh, I don't know, from Mayor Marion Barry, he was mayor of DC at the time as I was a student at Howard University, to Andrew Young. I mean, I got some amazing people for that even then. And I was a college student, and I really appreciated the fact that they were trying to help a college student out because, I was trying to work it out. But this is what I want to say about Martin Luther King Day. I would be less than me if I didn't go in. And so this is what I'm going to say about that. Why is this picture not showing? It's showing everything else, but it ain't showing this. Okay, let me try it again. Show my picture. It's not showing it. Okay, so I'll just put my banner back up because that sucks. It ruined my illusion. Okay, this is what I'm going to say. So 244 years, Black people were enslaved in this country. And today, enslavement has turned into a very different meaning as we get into celebrating Dr. King's birthday and his dream that has now literally, his beautiful dream that is literally turned into a nightmare of epic proportions from which the United States of America may never recover. So I urge every American citizen that is watching this, that is listening to this, or has it forwarded to them or posted to them wherever, I urge each of you of every race, creed, and color to celebrate the legacy of a man who died trying to make our country one of the greatest in the world and used his and wow, he used the tone of freedom like a warm blanket. And now there are other types of blankets used to exude the cold, unnerving state of affairs that we found ourselves in due to greed, ignorance, uneducation, divisiveness, and inequality. I have a dream today meant when Dr. King said it, he had a dream that people wouldn't be judged by their character, not by their skin color, where freedom rings from every mountainside and is rooted in the American promise that all men are created equal. Let us remind our elected officials they are exactly that, elected officials by the citizens of this country. There are no self-appointed officers of any court, senate, Congress, or House, and therefore technically our employees have been put in place by the United States to protect our country from the roots of evil in whatever form that may come in. Remember this as you embrace this particular holiday, enjoying a day off and gathering as a community for a man who literally gave his life so that we could all live in peace and unity. I was reading that because I get very emotional, and I didn't want to mess up the message that I wanted to send regarding that particular message as we go into this holiday. Hi, Nina Simone, 4258. Welcome. Thank you so much. No, 244 years is not that long ago. And what's really interesting is that America is celebrating their 250th anniversary. America is celebrating the 250th anniversary, but Black people were enslaved for 244 years of that 250 years. Let that sink in. 250 years, the country is celebrating a birthday, but for Black people in this country, we were enslaved for 244 years. Just let that sink in as you run around your day tomorrow, going to parades or whatever you choose to do to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy. I personally loved when I was working or had a job on that day, because that always, for me, sent the message home to me about his dream becoming a reality. So having said that, I'm just going to recap what we talked about. The awards are we're in award season. I'll have more news as that comes down the pipe. Stay tuned for the nominations for the Film Independent Spirit Awards and the Oscars coming down the pipe. Remember to go to the NAACP site, NAACPimageawards.net, to cast your vote there. Inspired and urged by Vice Chair Karen Boykin's Town, who's pictured in that photograph right there. Also, we talked about A Little Mercy. We talked about a little Pole to Pole. We talked about A Little Rip, and we talked about A Little Private Life. All of those films, with the exception of Mercy, will be coming to all of those films are either streaming or in theaters. Mercy will be coming to a theater near you on January 23rd. Dead Man's Wire is in a theater right now. If you want to check that out, it's great. And again, the Sundance Film Festival will kick off in less than a week on January 22nd, and it runs through February 1st. That's it for this edition of the Curvy Film Critic with Carla Renata. I will be back in a couple of weeks talking about the Olympics. I have some skaters from Glitter and Gold, which is streaming on Netflix. And I will also tell you that about some more films that we have been talking about during the award season that will be ushering into theaters and begin streaming as we go along. And I'll just keep you apprised of what's happening during this award season, and apprised of some interviews. I got some really good ones coming up. All right. I'm going to probably infiltrate the changes that I spoke about when I celebrate my 500th episode of the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. So, and when that happens, I'll have new artwork. It'll be new themes. So it'll be all kinds of stuff. So yeah, anyway, if you are watching this, give me a big thumbs up to let me know you were here. Click that bell for notifications to let me know that you were here. I know a lot of people watch this after the fact, and that's okay. We got lives. Life be lifing, as the kids say. So that's that. But thank you so much for joining me. And what you saying? I know, 500, it's a lot. Yes, I'm very excited and very proud of that. Thank you. All right, so life be lifing. I'm about to go life with it and grab me some grub. And I hope y'all have a beautiful, fantabulous week. And I'll see you next week. Bye.
Hold up. Wait a minute. wish you love, peace, and hair grease.
Love, peace.